Come on, I know it's been 3 days, but there's got to be some life left in everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to try one more time. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. Maybe I should have said buenos tardes. My name is Michael Lake. I am the president and CEO of an international organization called Leading Cities. We bring together cities from around the world for the purpose of identifying and exchanging best practices in public policy, creating business development opportunities, and supporting city-level diplomacy. To do that, we engage all members of the community, whether it be the municipal government, academia, businesses, nonprofits, and of course, citizens themselves. Today, we are here to discuss the question of community and how it relates to smart cities. What are our policies that facilitate the involvement of community or the exclusion of community? We'll also talk about how is community defined. Today we are joined by a panel of distinguished speakers, each with their own perspective, their own story to tell from their own cities. We will start today with our very first speaker. Our first speaker is Niksa, excuse me for the mispronunciation, Vlahusic. Close enough. Niksa leads the smart city development at City of Dubrovnik Development Agency. He is a vice president of the City Civil Society Committee. He has significant programming experience in mobile platforms, system architecture, and open hardware systems. Before I ask Niksa to join us up here and give us his presentation, I'm introducing us. I also want to know about you. So by a show of hands, how many people here represent the public sector? Very good. And the private sector? Great. And the nonprofit sector or academia? Terrific. Well, thank you all for joining us. I will ask that all of you engage in this conversation. We have been planning this so that it is a dialogue among the panelists and among yourselves. We will, at the end, open the floor to questions. You'll see a microphone here for you to join us in that dialogue. Niksa, please join me up here and share with us the efforts you've made to manage and engage startups and SMEs in Dubrovnik to create city solutions locally. Thank you.
Mike. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, this one. Let me just open the presentation. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for coming to this beautiful city of Barcelona, and I would like to congratulate you for being here, because this is a really important event, and of course you are all citizens of some city or some country, and as we are focusing here in this topic on citizens and policies. So without further ado, I would just like to present you what will I be speaking about in my presentation. So I would like to present you my city, my role in this whole smart city project, and my agency for which I'm working. And also I would like to tell you the story of Dubrovnik, how the smart city project started, and where are we planning to go with it. So, as Mike said, I have some technical background. I used to be an iOS developer, so developing apps for iPhones. Probably most of you have here some apps that have my code inside. So I'm really familiar with the topic. Currently, I'm working for City of Dubrovnik Development Agency, which has taken upon itself to promote the smart city concept and the projects in Dubrovnik. So I think these are some important facts for all cities, because every city is different, that's for sure. This is something on which these statistics we usually use to connect the cities. If you see something that is here that is similar to your city, then we maybe can exchange some solutions and ideas that can work also for you. So as you can see, Dubrovnik is a small city with a pretty small population, and it's pretty oriented toward tourism. What's also specific is that the situation in Dubrovnik changed during the season. So as we have 42,000 inhabitants, and people come with the cruisers, tourists come with the cruisers. We have some issues with traffic and so on, but I will get to it later on. Also, the Dubrovnik is special because of UNESCO protection, so we have to be really careful about implementation of all smart city projects, as they need to be hidden from the eye. We started actually 3 years ago while I still wasn't working at my current place. So we started with a startup weekend Dubrovnik. It's an event that has been held each year, and we are holding one in 2 weeks. It's mostly oriented to general startups, so not just IT, not just smart city. We are trying to gather different types of people that are required in all startups. So that would include the developers, hackers, makers, but also lawyers, PR managers, and all other aspects that are required. From this event, we found out that actually most of the people that apply are leaning towards IT solutions. So the next event that we decided to organize is a hackathon. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the concept. So the whole point is to organize something that is more appealing to engineers and local programmers. We managed to gather, I think, 30 local engineers, and at the end of the event, they've created 12 smart city projects, which first 3 were supported by our mayor, and we decided to pilot these activities. So currently, these are the 3 projects that were awarded. The first project is smart parking. It uses wireless sensors and wireless technology to transfer all the data to one central server. The second is Smart Dubrovnik Card. This is a really important project because we in Dubrovnik tend to think of tourists as temporary citizens. I think that's the right way to look at those people. It's quite a dynamic group and depends on is it a season or not. But as I said, Dubrovnik Card is actually a touristic application that currently has mostly paper brochures and so on. So we are planning to move forward and to digitalize the whole content and experience for the tourists. The last project is smart sprinklers. The idea is to make better automatization of irrigation of public spaces and public parks. The whole project is based on measuring humidity in the ground rather than just setting the timers on certain time. With these projects, we plan to conserve with smart parking CO2, and we plan to decrease the traffic congestion. There are some statistics that say that actually lots of traffic, up to 40%, comes just from people searching for parking. The smart sprinklers goal is to conserve water, of course, but also to improve the foliage growth and everything. What we found out after the hackathon is that developers have problems accessing technology and space, and startups don't have really much money, so you need at the beginning you need to invest something in them and then expect the same amount to return. So at my company, we decided to open a high-tech lab that is equipped with Macs, PCs, wireless, Arduino technology, and other open hardware and open source technology. Currently at this office, we have me personally overseeing the developers, and developers, there are about 10 of them that are constantly coming there, and the others are working from home. So we are quite flexible in cooperation with local developers. This is the last thing that I wanted actually to talk about. It's really important document because it connects with this topic. It's a strategy that contains some ideas and policies that should be implemented in smart city projects happening in Dubrovnik. So it is, let's say, a base document that we always use to measure what we should do, what we shouldn't do, and what is planned for the city. Now, from the strategy and from our local knowledge and research, we found out that these are the troubles that trouble locals the most. The traffic congestion is definitely the first answer that you will get if you ask any citizen of Dubrovnik what's the problem. Also, noise pollution. There is a problem with bars and nightclubs and so on. Information deficit, this is something that I experienced myself. Usually I go on Facebook or some other social media, I don't know, and what I can see is only events that have passed. So it's really an issue when you see something about robotics and you want to be there, but it happened yesterday. We are trying to improve that with web pages for citizens, with all events updated at the same time for the whole city. Also, there are Croatia, the country I come from, and Dubrovnik is a small country with 4 million people in total. So there are some problems with TV signal and radio signal interference. It can get really annoying if you are going home from work and you want to listen to radio, and then you constantly hear the interruptions and so on. Also, since I'm living a few kilometers from the city, there are some problems in GSM coverage as well. So those are actually the problems we are looking to solve, but also in smart city strategy that you saw on slide before, there are 17 ideas that are defined to be implemented. So we are kind of working on all of them, mostly with startups, but we are of course interested in cooperation with big companies and the city. There is a kind of a division of smart cities in 3 generations. So the first generation would be big companies selling their existing technologies to a city. And the second generation would be a city searching for technologies and then buying them. And the third generation would be where the city asks the citizens about the problems and the issues and asks for startups and similar young developers and locals to develop the solutions. However, I think that division is quite wrong, because in reality you need to use all 3 models. So you need to cooperate with big companies, with the city, and with the citizens to create the whole complete solution that is really optimized for your city. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niksa. Thank you for providing this insight into Dubrovnik, but also for starting us off about what is community. Certainly your work with local SMEs and startups defines a part of all of our community. To hear a little bit more about this question of community and who is part of the community and how do you engage them is our next speaker. Tamir Dayan, our Director of Business and Economic Development of Jerusalem Municipality. He holds a bachelor degree in Law and Economics of Tel Aviv University and an MBA of Jerusalem Hebrew University. Tamir, please join us and share with us your expertise. Thank you.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My colleagues from Israel and all the rest. Thank you for coming and joining us this evening. Before I'm going to talk about communities, local communities, and in the policies we embrace in Jerusalem, I want to give you a small taste of Jerusalem. Jerusalem isn't, for us, it's not only the most beautiful place in the world, it's religious for the 3 different religions, Christians, Jews, and Muslims. This relates to my first point that technology isn't always the best solution for everything. Yep. A taste of Jerusalem. So now you know how Jerusalem looks like. For those who haven't been in Jerusalem, I'll tell you a little about Jerusalem. Jerusalem is located in Israel. Israel is a country in the Middle East. We have in Jerusalem 10% of Israeli population, and the diversity of the population is very unique for Jerusalem. Third of the population are ultra-Orthodox Jews, those who wear the black, don't drive on Saturday, don't have a smartphone, and have a very special life. We have third of the population, which is secular, like most of us, and we have third of the population, which are Muslims. So we have such a diversity in Jerusalem, so we already have some kind of communities, whether we like it or not. The second thing about Jerusalem is the topographic of Jerusalem. We are located on mountains, and initially and historically, the people lived on different places and were not connected to each other. So we have, from the topography and geography, we have different communities. In Jerusalem, we like very much the community. You will ask a lot of people in Jerusalem, where do they live? And they won't say, I live in Jerusalem. They will say, I live in this neighborhood or in that neighborhood. And they're very proud in the place they are living at. So I want to ask you now, can you hear me without the mic? Okay. I want to ask you, is community good? Okay. I like to walk around when I talk, but that's okay. Anyway, do you think communities is a good thing? Raise your hand if you think community is a good thing. Isn't it easier when everyone are the same? I can manage them, I know what they want, I can give them what they need. Isn't it better? Did someone change his mind because of what you just said? Someone who changed his mind, raise his hand? Okay. So we believe community is a very good thing. We believe community is a good thing because when someone has pride in who he is and he's special, and we let him shine, and we embrace him, and we empower him, we give him a better life. When he's special and we attend his speciality, and we give him his needs and not someone else's needs, he can bright and shine in a better way. This is why the diversity and difference among us and between us is something we as a municipality need to embrace, push, and provide. I want to tell you in a nutshell 2 points I want you to take out of here. One, the municipality and in Jerusalem embraces the specialty in, how much time do I have? 5 minutes. We embrace not by technology. Everything you see here in the conference is technology oriented. We believe that you cannot embrace the specialty of each neighborhood or resident by technology. Having a survey and asking them what they like, yes or not, will not always get to the right people. Not all of our population have a smartphone. The questions you get and the answer you get are not sufficient in order to feel like and smell the ground. Like they did in espionage, they have satellites and you can learn and hear phones of people. But if you don't have a man on the ground, if you don't have the human intelligence, you don't understand your neighborhood, you don't understand your residents. In Jerusalem, we have a very unique model in which us as a municipality have a long arm in each neighborhood. Our city is divided to 7 different districts. Each district has some kind of a small municipality, which is our long arm. This is our long arm. This is our man in the field. We have 10 people working over there and acting as the product manager of the area they are working in. The other thing we have is we kind of unionized the neighborhood. We have something that is called Minhal Keilati, for those who talk Hebrew here. And the Minhal Keilati is an NGO that has representatives of the neighborhood he is working in. So on the one hand, we have unionized the neighborhood. On the other hand, we have a long arm in each neighborhood. Those two groups and companies are talking, and we as a municipality are giving them everything they need. And this is how we have in Kiryat Yovel, we have a specific park that is made only for this neighborhood. This neighborhood got a special park with a Pirates Bay that is not sufficient or suitable for the ultra-Orthodox. We have different school programming in the Arab sector, in the Jewish sector, and the secular sector. They are getting different kind of education programs that are tending their special needs. In our Independence Day, I don't understand it. How much time do I have? It's 48 minutes.
3 minutes.
I have, but it says 48. Anyway, in 3 minutes, I'm good with 3 minutes. In our Independence Day, we are not celebrating in Jerusalem just in one big party. In Jerusalem, we have Independence Day for each neighborhood because we think that each neighborhood should get their celebration. They have to have their unit pride. The other point I want to address is that when we're talking on communities, most of the people relate associatively only to the residents and the neighborhoods and the population. We believe that communities is a much wider phase. For example, I'll give you 2 examples. One example is the bids. We believe that in a specific quarter, all business have a mutual interest. The gelateria, the restaurant, and the closing party and shop can promote their interest, whether it's with social media, whether it's with a selling platform, whether it's with marketing, whether it's with cultural events in their district that will help everyone. We as a municipality help unionize all of them in a thing that is called a BID, Business Improvement District. We take all of them, we unionize them, we give them some funds, they put some funds, and they are working together in order to achieve their goals as a district with the same common grounds. The other thing I want to talk about is that we in Jerusalem want to embrace the high-tech industry and the high-tech entrepreneurs, and this is why we are pushing for a different community. We have a community of high-tech. We took the entrepreneurs, we gave them a platform, we give them their social media, we connect them to people, and they're working as a community. We are embracing, we are pushing, we are providing with. And this is how we are giving this platform something very unique in Jerusalem to be proud of and to talk to each other and to connect and to magnetize other entrepreneurs from other cities to come to Jerusalem and work together side by side. 1 minute. In the last 1 minute, I want to talk about Jerusalem strategy. We want to boost our economy in Jerusalem. Our mayor, together with Professor Porter from Harvard, together with former Mayor Bloomberg from the New York City, have established a 5-year plan for Jerusalem. We want to make Jerusalem even a better place than it is today. And in 5 years' time, we're going to invest in academy, science, technology, tourism, and all of that in order to boost our economy. We have the best universities in Israel. We have the best hospitals in Israel. We have a very good high-tech industry that is pooling. We have doubled the number of startups in Jerusalem in the last 3 years from year to year. And we want to have the most touristical place in Israel. If today we have 3 million tourists, in 4-year times we will have 10 million tourists. And we are doing everything to invest in the touristic places in Jerusalem and to invest in population outside Israel in order to bring them to Jerusalem. In the last 10 minutes I have, I want to thank you again for coming. I want to invite you to Jerusalem, the most beautiful place in the world for us. Welcome. You won't regret it for a minute. And hopefully in 5 years' time, this convention will be held in Jerusalem in the new business district Doron from Moriah, who is sitting here and building, will build for us. Bezrat Hashem. Thank you very much.
Great job. Well, thank you so much, Tamir. Having just recently traveled to Israel, it is truly a place where yesterday meets tomorrow. It's rich in history, culture, design. It is a magnificent place, and you've shared a great vision. But most of all, you've reminded us, I think, of one of the most important success factors for smart cities, and that is to remember the community and all aspects of the community, not just residents, but businesses and organizations and so on. Our next speaker, I'm pleased to say, is Ignasi Bonet. He represents the city of, just outside of Barcelona here, the city of Sant Cugat. So we travel now from one side of the Mediterranean to the other. Ignasi is the Vice Director of Innovation for the city and responsible for e-government and open data projects, IT management, and information society in the city. Ignasi's former professional experience in regional government, industrial policies was related to innovation in smart cities, as well as digital culture projects. Ignasi, please come forward to share with our fellow delegates the evolution of the smart city policy concept.
And just to demonstrate that I work in innovation, I will make my presentation in Prezi, so we have a little problem now. Sí, sí, sí.
Can I continue in the meantime?
Good evening to everybody. Thank you for attending this meeting. Just to understand which is the policy of the city of Sant Cugat about dynamizing communities, let me explain, just to understand what we are and where we are. Sant Cugat is a city. I will present you this presentation. I must excuse it's in Catalan because I couldn't access to the English version, but the organization will be provided with the English version, and you can reach it online when I can upload. But don't be afraid, because I will explain all necessary information just to understand how we held the community dynamization. Sant Cugat is a city of about 25,000 inhabitants, so we are much smaller than Barcelona. The average age of our inhabitants are about 35, 36 years, and most of them, 25% is under 18 years. So we are talking about a very young population. We are known to gather most of the young couples that are trying to breed, to have a child. So we have really young population. In a very green environment, we have 1 million square meters, in which there are almost one tree for every inhabitant. So I think that we can talk in this sense in a green city, and we are very proud to keep a very green environment. There is a lot of university. We have 4 university campus with almost 17,000 students. Economically, we have 2,000, almost 3,000 enterprises. Most of them are SMEs that occupy 50,000 people. Sant Cugat is known to be a dormitory city, but I think that this will end this legend, because we have almost the same active population than people working. So this is not really true that we are only a dormitory city. We are a business city, a green city, and I think that this must make us a mental map of what kind of city we are talking about. Citizens. The economic level, the economic average of the inhabitants of the city are slightly above average. Most of them have internet connection. We have a 91% of people connected to internet, when meanwhile the average is 71 in other cities, and 74% have a smart connection. So I think we can think of Sant Cugat with a green city, with slightly above average economical people, and most of them connected to internet. So I think that we have all the tools to consider our city to be potentially considered smart, or we can work with very useful tools to make easily smart and innovative our city. Remember, we have students, we have academia, we have enterprises, we have engaged and economically independent people, and I'm proud to say that we have an administration that is involved as well in the innovation. So we are dealing with the 4 helices, with the 4 helices of the innovation. So I think that is very promising, our commitment with the, not with the president, but with the, well, if you want, I can explain you what I was telling you. Our history about the involvement of the city with the smart technologies began in 2008. We wrote down a strategic plan in which we identified which technological projects we must abroad to consider our city intelligent. We deployed in year 2009 and 2010 a street near the municipality, in which we set the smart street, in which we have lots of pilotings, just to know, just to taste how the technology can help us to make our city smarter. What I've learned in these years is that we can have better irrigation systems, we can have better lighting in the city, we can have better use and more optimized use of the energy in our own buildings. All of this technology has helped us to waste less money, so we can apply more resources to other social projects, for instance, but we have learned above all that not only technology is the driver for the smart cities. We need to know what thing smart citizens and smart enterprises in our city. So all our future efforts must be driven to know what the citizenship thinks, what the citizenship needs, and then we can solve their problems efficiently. I will try from my area of innovation that use the most of possible technology, but we are aware that not only technology is needed to solve all these problems. Just to put two examples, we have several communities in Sant Cugat. Most of them are associated to locality, to territory, to the neighborhood. Other communities are based on age. We have a community of young students. We have a community of universities. We have a business community of local enterprises. And all of them are present we have representatives there just to know what they are thinking. I think that this is a good way to dynamize these communities, but it's very limited. We have all the champions meeting in one room, but we want to know not only the opinion of the champions, we want to have a larger basis of knowledge of their needs and their intentions. So we think that applying technology driven from the municipality, we can have some tools at the disposal of these kind of communities just to share information, just to share innovation, just to cooperate and gather their own information. So we can improve our services to those communities. This is one driver of our intention in next years. Another good example, as I've said before, Sant Cugat is known to have access to gather most of young couples that want to have a young child. So Sant Cugat have lots of childs. It has been 15 years having childs. So nowadays we have not only childs but teenagers. We know very well the needs of the fathers. We know very well the needs of the child. We don't know nothing about teenagers. How can keep the teenagers engaged with the city? We must know that. I recognize that it's a challenge for us. We have all the young people taking the train and having fun in the near cities around Sant Cugat. We are losing this kind of population, so we must engage them to have fun in the city, and if it is possible, have the fun that the city can offer. Remember, green, very quiet. So we must find some threats for this kind of population that they feel happy, they feel proud to be in the city. And we think that technology like Wi-Fi, very useful to gather information from sensors, it could be very useful to keep young people attached to our location. So I think that communities is needed for us. They are very important. We must keep an analogical contact with them, but I think that we can as well digitalize this contact to make better and improve our relationship with all our communities. I think that this failed presentation can complete with what I've been saying to you. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will pass to the next speaker.
Well, Ignasi, you remind us that technology is definitely not always the answer, and that sometimes the answer is community. Now, our last speaker for this afternoon. I'd like to introduce Beena Prabhu. Beena is a design principal at Srishti Labs at the Srishti Institute of Art, Design, and Technology. With 20 years of consulting experience on projects across the globe in domains ranging from retail to financial inclusion, an expert in the areas of sustainability, design research, and innovation, Beena currently heads the Smart Communities for Enhanced Living. Beena, we look forward to hearing from you both from this perspective with your experience, but also how we involve human capital and the importance of involving human capital. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. So I think my presentation is going to be slightly different, a very different setting, a very different, I need to stay here, a very different kind of a problem that we are struggling with in Bangalore, that's the city I come from, and a very different kind of a approach. So with Tamir and Ignasi here, I'm kind of a little concerned to say this, but in Bangalore, we have, in this specific situation, we have figured out that battling the policy makers and the politicians is a longer battle. And we've tried to take some things in our hands as design professionals and the private sector to create some solutions that will really have a good impact or a positive impact on the citizens of the country. Okay. So Srishti Labs in Bangalore, at Srishti Labs, our mission and our vision is to create sustainable and contextual solutions that will really enhance people's lives. And to do this, we use a human-centered design approach, wherein the human is the focus and technology is an enabler. To start off, I want to share something that happened almost 10 years back when I moved from the United States back to India with my family. And my daughter, who was still playing with toy cars at that point, one day she said, "Mom, come here, I want to show you something." This was right after we had moved back. And she said, "This is where we came from, and this is where we are." And for a second, I was like, wow, how did she get this? A 9-year-old. What she depicted with her toy cars was a predicament that we were in 10 years back. And unfortunately, 10 years from then, we are still struggling with a lot of challenges we were facing then. Mainly because of failing infrastructure, a big growth in the population in the cities, lots from migration, people coming into the cities, increasing number of vehicles, and yet the public transport system was still lagging behind. It was not meeting what people really required. Indian cities today hold almost 30% of our entire population. And in 2030, we expect that this is going to go up to 40%, which means almost 590 million people sharing the same space and sharing the same resources which are already stressed. We expect that the transportation sector is going to be hit the most, clearly because the daily trips that people are going to take is going to almost double by the time 2030 comes. And roadways are going to be affected the most. Roadways are the key, are integral to transportation within the cities. And today, our roads are shared by a very wide spectrum of motorized as well as non-motorized means of transport. All the way from intercity buses, intra-city buses, to local taxis from age-old days, to the new Uber cabs, lot of private vehicles, rickshaws pulled by humans, and last but not the least, animal-driven carts. We still have those in India. On the same roads that you see the buses and the intra and intercity buses, the hi-fi cars, everything. However, due to inadequate public transport, there is this new emerging genre, as I would like to call it, which is the intermediate public transport. So these guys have not been really pulled into the mainstream public transport, but they are providing what people need today. And in this intermediate public transport, the auto rickshaws play a very key role. They are the ones who really provide the last mile connectivity to our citizens. Today, Bangalore, that's where I come from, we have 150,000 auto rickshaws plying every single day. Okay. I showed you the toy cars. Now I want to show you something else. I want to take you on a bumpy ride in one of the auto rickshaws, on a very busy street in Bangalore. So hold on to that metal rod that runs on the top, or hold on to whatever you can hold on to, because an auto rickshaw doesn't have a seat belt. Just click. can let go of the handle, step out of your rickshaw. And by the way, this is not 10 years back. This footage was, I and one of my colleagues helped me to take the footage right before we got here. So this is very real. This is where I live. This is where a lot of Indians live, and they love being there. So what do? The autos are here to stay, and we want them to stay. Just like I said, it's 150,000 people trying to get out of poverty by being in this profession. So what can we do for them? So at Srishti Labs, we are trying to come up with a solution that can be a stepping stone for the auto drivers to come out of the poverty. We are trying to create something that will pull them out with economic help as well as social help. How much time do we have? And we use iterative design process. I'm a designer and an engineer by education and profession. That's what I practice. And what we've come out with a solution that's a platform. It's a modular platform, and multiple stakeholders have been pulled into making this platform viable. And there are three main goals of this platform. The first one is to really empower this community of auto drivers and give them access to knowledge so that they can have access to basic necessities of life like healthcare, education, and finance. The second goal of this platform is going to be to really self-regulate them. So these auto drivers, this community is the rogue community, as they're called in India, because they do a lot of things like tampering with their meters, overcharging customers, and things like that. So what we have suggested or what we have designed is a self-regulatory system with participation from all the stakeholders. And the third goal is to really do something where policies don't exist. Currently, there is nothing that's protecting them, so we are trying to create a socio-economic security net for them. And right now, we've already tested out our initial prototypes, and hopefully with the right kind of funding, in a year we can pilot the system.
Well, thank you all. Please join me in thanking the whole panel before we get into question and answers. You all presented different perspectives and a great overview of the cities you come from, so thank you very much. We want to open the floor to question and answers at this time. So I'm going to give you a warning. There is a microphone to my left and to my right. If you do have questions, please stand up and make your way to one of those microphones. I am going to start us off with a question to the panel, but I am going to warn you. If nobody stands at those, I'm going to start calling on all of you. But the question I have for our panelists, each of you have described your situation in your respective cities, projects that have been created, some that are needed. My question for the first three speakers is, paint us a picture of what your city would be like today had the effort that you have already explained not been implemented. And for Beena, share with us your vision for Bangalore if it is implemented. So we'll go in order as speakers. You have, I'll use this one. I think it's on.
Yeah, is it on? Yeah. Okay, so without, first of all, I have to tell that Dubrovnik has started with a smart city project about half a year ago. So there really wouldn't be much difference currently. But if I may talk for, let's say, 1 year in the future or something like that, we would be missing those three projects that we are currently working on. And we will be missing the solutions to really important problems of our city. Also, there is a thing that is currently visible, and those are these few companies that were founded and that will start earning profit and will help in growth of local economy. So that will be it.
Let me expand just a little bit. We've been talking about the impact on community and particularly the human-centric nature that we can bring to this approach. So how would the individual, the resident within the city, a year from now benefit because of these projects?
Well, they would certainly benefit from cleaner air, also less fuel consumption, that is important, and less stress. I'm talking mostly about the traffic issues, as I said, because those are the most important.
Okay. Tamir.
Thank you. I think the question you're asking is the equivalent to the question is, are we effective or not? And I think that the model of community should state that we invest in the community in order to give it a push to drive itself. And to address your question, I will address the high-tech community. I think that the high-tech community is something that we wouldn't have had today if the municipality and our partners would not have pushed it. And I think that now we are in a stage that we are artificially still working on it and supporting it, but we do believe that in 2 years' time it will renovate itself and it will expand independently. And I think this is the good model. As for communities, the communities exist. I think that without our push modeling or the districts and the NGOs I talked about, I think the citizens would be less satisfactory, because I don't think that we could address their needs and give them their needs on a constant basis. And I think that the fact that the municipality addresses those communities constantly, each day, listens to them and attends their needs, makes their life a lot easier, better, and happier.
Right. Ignasi.
Exactly. Related to what I've said before, now we are beginning a 4 years process in which we have had elections before the summer. So we have a 4 years period to execute our policies to demonstrate that we are keeping or we want to improve our city. Our goal in a 4 years period is improve our perception of quality of life of our citizens, and the need to engage the citizenship in this sense of quality of life. We can help you to improve your quality of life, but we need from you announce that or denounce us what is not working and helping to make it work better. So first of all, we must apply technology in our own infrastructure. The organization must be digitalized, because it's not fair to demand to the citizenship, please connect us through web, through digital services, then I will print the paper, I will sing it by hand, and I will give to my fellow. This is only half digitalization, so we must digitalize our procedures. We must be very transparent. We must show the citizenship what we are doing, so they can watch us working and they can watch the real results of our work. And we must ask them to participate. We must dynamize the communities to be with us, not only talking to us, but working with us. And at last, they must feel proud to be citizens of our city. I think this will be our goal in a 4 years period.
Great. And Beena, how would things be different in a few years from now?
So our solution is a dream for 150,000 families. And if this dream comes true, 150,000 families will have access to healthcare. 150,000 families will have children who will have access to information about options related to education. 150,000 families will have access to finance, to banking. Apart from that, people like me won't have to worry about getting into an auto rickshaw late at night. We won't have to worry about haggling with them about how much money we need to give them, because we have the self-regulated system wherein you can rate a driver, the driver can rate you, because it's not just the safety of people, the commuters, but also safety of the auto drivers. That's what we hope for.
So, yes, there's a mic.
May I borrow this one? You know, this
Actually,
is
fair. Can we have another microphone, another
but, you know,
wireless?
because this is the nicest room, because we are like a family, and if we are there, it's like looking from the moon downwards. So I'm Robert Stüssi from Lisbon, and I mean, you made 4 fantastic presentations, but I would like to address Beena. You showed clearly that you are on the community side, So I would like to ask you a double question. You are from the community, but I mean, how do the community people react to you? Because you are proposing to them, you said in the film that they have little training and so on and so on. So how do you convince them and how they react? And the second thing is above you, you have the authorities which in Mumbai, in certain zones, forbid the rickshaw. Or like in Lisbon, you know, the rickshaw now invades the European cities. And I think it's fantastic because the taxi drivers, they don't speak any languages, they are not funny, they are cheating you as much as the rickshaw drivers. And there come the rickshaws, a lot of fun and so on. And what does the authority do? The first thing is they try to say, you can drive on this road, not on this road, and so on and so on. No? Because the taxi drivers, of course, they are fighting against you. But anyway, so how is your relationship? How you convince the government to listen to you and to adopt the things? Sorry, that was too long.
I'll answer the first question because that's the easier one. First, and then I'll go to the next one. While we came up with this solution, we have involved the community, and when I say the community is the auto driver community extensively. And what we feel is it's going to almost grow organically. So it's really going to build momentum slowly. Once they see that there is something positive happening, we think that more and more of the community will want to sign up for this. So it's totally up to them. As I said, it's a modular solution. The second question about the higher up, the policymakers and the government, that's the most difficult part. And we believe that right now, with younger people moving into politics and our new prime minister, there is a lot of attention on cities and what's happening in the city. So we are going to try and get ourselves in the limelight and say, guys, this works. Let's do it across India. So really trying to pull the limelight onto ourselves and say, it's working. What can you say now? So that's the hope and the plan that we have right now for ourselves.
Great. You know, one of the things that came up in several of your presentations was this human-centric approach. Niksha explained the various generations that we've experienced. The first generation being the technological generation, second being more of, instead of big companies coming to cities with solutions, it was cities asking companies for solutions. Now we seem to be in this third generation, which is a bit more human-centric. My question first to all of you, how many of you feel like in your cities, by a show of hands, the city has engaged the community in all aspects, to Tamir's point, all aspects of the community? Half. We got a half. Is it also a half, or is that a full? The half. Let's start. So there's a real lack of community engagement in our cities. It seems universal. So my challenge to our panelists is, in this moment, in this room, let's give birth to the fourth generation. And give me your vision for what is that fourth generation that involves big companies, it involves the cities explaining what they need, but it encapsulates the human-centric approach as well. What is that process like? Because what we're really talking about is how government engages and the approach they use to resolving the challenges they have. In no particular order.
It's a really good question, and I like the fourth generation idea. So, as I said, the first three generations are not a reality. They are fine on paper, but in reality, they are really, really mixed. So, I think that a good solution would be actually to mix all the stakeholders. So, the good solution would be making let's say, a council for your city, which would include the local politicians, the big companies, and the local developers, but in equal amounts. Yeah,
Great.
That would be it.
Wow, it feels like making history now. But I feel kind of the same. I feel that the fourth generation should be a better use of technology that touches everyone, and I mean everyone, and I'm not talking only about the community, I'm talking about getting by the technology, better usage of technology, that it will give you the full picture of everything that happens in in the city, but not in a binary way, in a way that you could be able, like I said before, you would be able to touch, feel, and smell everything that goes around the city, and by that, taking this to the next step of making the right decisions about all your communities, all your citizens, all your city, and not just touching parts of them and saying you have a connection to the city. Because if we want to be honest with ourselves, even the places that think they have good communication with the residents, they don't touch everyone. They touch only solely few representatives that not necessarily present the city and the needs.
From our point of view and our experience in Sant Cugat, as I said before, we have lots of community meetings, assemblies, but remember, this is only a meeting of champions, the most engaged people. We are saying, how can engage people? There's a lot of people engaged. No, there's not a lot. There's some people very engaged, but they are champions. How we can expand this scope of people more engaged, but not not as champions? I think new technologies can give us this opportunity. It's people that perhaps at 7 o'clock at the same time that the football match is playing won't abandon his TV set to go to a local meeting or local assembly. All right, but I can send them some messages, I can have my opinion, and I can have my feedback. This is the second stage of enlarging this scope. But there is a third one. Most of the times we are trying to attract people through internet by our own applications, the City Hall application, the fantastic application. We must speak the same language and use the same technologies that people. Better than deploying or developing a particular app of the City Hall, it's connect to Instagram, write down the hashtag Sant Cugat and breakdowns, and you will have photographs of all the dustbins, of all of the accidents that have been in the city. Don't develop an app. Connect to the Instagram. Smell what people think or feels. So you will have more information from not engaged people. And in the top level of communication, this innocent photo taken from a broken glass, open a maintenance ticket and send another Instagram with the glass repaired and a report closing the ticket. You are the master of the communication. Yeah. But this is a dream nowadays. But we are dealing to solve this kind of communication.
Thank you. Beena.
So I think for me, for where I come from, the fourth generation is slightly different. And we have something what you just described in Bangalore. And personally, I have sent tons of pictures and nothing has happened. So for us, so I really think it depends on where you are. And what we realize in major cities, or at least in Bangalore, is that it's now time to really stop saying that this is not in my backyard, this is not my problem, this is what the government has to fix. We have enough money, we have enough talent, we have enough resources within the private sector and within the masses to really change our cities. And that's what is already happening, and I think that's going to make a major impact. And then maybe someday the government will change its mind and do something.
Great. Well, we have 1 minute left, so I want to take a moment to summarize just a little bit. Before this panel, I asked each of our panelists if there was only one thing that each of you were able to walk away with after this session. What would it be? I'm going to refer to my notes here so I make sure I capture their thoughts accurately. But one was recognizing the multitude of communities that exist within a city and how we engage them, not forgetting any of them. Another was understanding the social context and the constraints within our cities so that we're developing the right solutions. A third was to involve the local startup and the local community in that development of solutions. And finally, it's understanding the problem and developing a solution that fits the problem, rather than finding a solution and then defining the problem you're trying to solve. So that is, I hope I've captured your thoughts accurately. That is some of what we wanted each of you to walk away with today, that there are real challenges for our cities to engage community in the solution development process. I want to thank our panelists today for sharing your experiences, for creating history in the birth of this fourth generation of problem-solving for cities. And I want to thank all of you for being here as well. And a special thanks to Fear in the back and our volunteers up front who are behind the scenes making all of this possible for us. So please, join me in thanking all of us.